Hi everybody, so I'm Stott. I'm a developer evangelist at Microsoft. So my job is basically supporting any developer in the UK and Europe for building Windows Phone, Windows 8, our cloud services, or Xbox One. So I'm here today to talk to you about where we are as Microsoft today. That's great. That's me. Where we are today, what we're doing in terms of working with Marmalade and middleware vendors, and the opportunity for you. I'm going to actually pass over to a developer after the break from Lemon Moose Games. We're going to talk about the experience from a developer perspective, because it's great me standing here and talking it from a Microsoft perspective. I get paid to do that. He has to earn money like you, so I'd rather him tell you his story and how he's built on the platform. So first of all, if I was here a year ago, I'd be very much saying, Microsoft's a software company. Hopefully most of you use our software on a day-to-day basis, whether you're using Word, whether you're using Office, whether you're using our cloud services. But we expect a lot of people to have some experience of us as a software company. That all really changed this year with the appointment of our new CTO. So now we're very much a mobile and cloud-first company. And what this means for you as developers is we're pretty platform agnostic now. We don't give a monkeys. We want you to be successful. We want developers to be successful. We want to build the best tools and work with the best middleware providers to enable you as a developer to build a single code base and to be on as many platforms from day one. I call it the pub syndrome analogy, okay? So we all go to the pub, we're all having a pint, we all pull out our phone and say, have you seen this game? It's a great game. Everybody else pulls out the phone around the table. You have no control of what device they buy, what device they own. And we all buy devices for the same reason. And the reasons are, is it pretty? I've got yellow on because I like yellow. People want iPhones because they're shiny. And can we afford it as individuals? What is a tariff level? So that's the key drivers today for consumerisation. So we live in a consumerised society. So what we want to do is be able to give you the best tools and the best support so you can, from day one, be on as many platforms, as many eyeballs. Because if you lose that pub syndrome, that is your one opportunity to be a successful game developer. So as Microsoft, this is where we are today with our platform. And what we're trying to do now is create a universal platform. So everything runs Windows. So we have Windows Phone, Windows 8, Xbox, and with Windows we've got tablet versions, we've got all-in-one versions, we've got 133-inch screen versions. And it's about the same game being across every single device. So from user developer, it's build once, deploy anywhere. And we're building great tools now, so we released Visual Studio Community Edition about 2 weeks ago, which is basically the pro version completely free. We've even built an Android emulator that's better than Google's emulator. So if you run it up, you can spin up an Android emulator and you don't have to wait 5 minutes for it to load. You can build for iOS, you can build for Android, you can build for Windows in one IDE. We're being platform agnostic. We want you to be successful and use our tools to be the most successful developers. From a consumer perspective, we still have 3 stores. This is today. We've got a Windows Phone store, a Windows 8 store and an Xbox store. So as a developer, you need to submit to each of those stores separately. That will change over time, will make it a lot easier, but today this is the situation we're in. Again, what this actually does though, is create enlightenment for the end user. So as a consumer of a Windows Phone device, I can go and look at the indie game developer section. And we actually call out a lot of UK indie game developers in our regional stores. So again, we give you extra visibility in our stores because we want you to be successful. If you're successful, we're successful. And what we want is to showcase developers who we can put on stage to talk about their experiences, and more importantly, it helps us sell our devices. And again, we live in this society of consumerisation, so it's about playing the game across devices. Anybody children under the age of 12 in the room? I have. And they want asynchronous gaming. My youngest is my asynchronous guru. He will move from an iPad to a PlayStation, to a Vita, to an Xbox, to a tablet, and if he has to play the same level again, he will uninstall the game and give you as a developer a 1-star rating. He's our new audience. He wants, he doesn't want to be playing 50 levels again. He spent 2 hours doing that. But he wants to be able to transition between playing in his bedroom on an Xbox and then playing in a phone in the car on the way to school. Or stood in the playground and saying, "Mum, can I borrow your phone for a minute?" Again, where we are as a developer, we've got 415,000 apps in the store today, which, it's not a huge number. But what this is, it's a new store, this is an 18-month-old store. More importantly, we've got a huge growth rate. So it shows that the store is being in demand, people are using it, people are consuming it, people are buying the devices. We've got 410,000 registered developers. So again, we've got lots of developers now getting on board. So if you look at the numbers, it's about one app per developer at the moment, if you're just in simple maths. Well, that's growing at a huge rate as well. More importantly, we've got a huge growth in users. So we've got 91% growth in users on the platform. So Windows Phone now is #1 in 10 European countries. So Italy's probably got the most Windows Phone users in Europe. Again, the UK is about 14.5% now. So we are growing, we're getting big, we're becoming very popular. We've got over 100 million users who log into the live services every day. So what that means is the visibility point. As a developer, you can get exposure to 100 million users every day logging into a service. And again, we've signed with 64 mobile billing carrying operators. And this becomes really important in that monetization and those demographics of audience. So what we've done is sign with like O2, Vodafone, EE, and worldwide carriers so that people can buy content through their mobile phone tariff. They can either buy it through pay-as-you-go credit or add it onto their billing operator, so you don't need a credit card. And this becomes really important when you're looking at developing countries. And again, over 50% of consumers actually buy content. So that's a really important factor. It's, lots of people are downloading content and not paying for it. We've got 50% who pay. So what we're doing to make your life easier. As a developer, we're now giving you a lifetime subscription. So as an individual developer, it's about $20 for a developer account. That lasts forever. There's no renewal on it. So you sign up once, it lasts forever, and that covers Windows Phone and Windows 8. It's a single license. Again, we have the ID program for Xbox developers, which is completely free. We're also doing benefits. So this is more about rewarding you as a developer. And this is where you can get opportunities to be spotlighted, showcased, featured, be brought on stage by Microsoft, be used as one of our showcase games. Marmalade also have some great offers. So Marmalade are trying to incentivise you to build with their platform, which is great. And they're doing some of these really interesting opportunities for you. Because again, they want to showcase your games across all the platforms they support. And more importantly, you get rewarded for this. So if you don't want to buy a developer license, you get a developer license, you get free Windows. And it's about, we're trying to invest in you as companies, as individuals to be successful. So let's look at what some of the best practices are out there today on the store. As we all know, ads are pretty important. Who produces a free-to-play game at the moment with ad support? So let's just do, who's a developer in the room? Let's do it this way. Okay, so about 50% of your developers. So who does paid-based games, premium-based? So in-app purchase, so free with in-app, free with marketing. So what do the rest of you do? You build games for yourself? It's an important question. So there's 135,000 apps today in the Apple Store that have never been downloaded once, not even by the developer. And this is what gets to me sometimes. Is, as a game developer, you're actually building content for players, not for yourself. And I think a lot of developers still forget that. Is get your content out there. So ads are really important. #1 for us, it's about guaranteeing. We guarantee 99.9% fill rate. So we have various ad rotators, ad support. Again, with Marmalade, it's great. You've got an S3E service with Ad Duplex. Ad Duplex is one of our partners, so it guarantees you that level of fill rate. If you're doing an app, these are some of the best practices out there. This is, this can be taken for any store. This is just not Microsoft specific. This is any store out there. And again, it's about, this whole generate design to buy. Why should somebody buy it? So what we've done with the Windows Phone Store is actually added the option into the premium model, so you can actually do a try or buy option. And all that does is literally take some of your business logic in your game and says, let's make the game available for 1 play, 2 plays, 10 plays, 1 week, 2 weeks, and you can specify that yourselves. Again, some of the down, so 82% of people who implement try to buy are successful. So that's a massive return, on a game that is a premium-based game. What makes... So let's go back to my kids again. What makes them download and buy content? And it's simple, really. It's 3 things. It's how pretty does it look? So as a developer, do you have a good artist? Because it's, they need a good ad in the store. Second one, what is the feedback rating? So is it 1 to 5? And the third one is what are the reviews? That's what makes people buy games today. Nobody's going to try it. Nobody's going to take a punt if it doesn't look very good, number one. Nobody's going to take a punt if it's less than a 3-star rating generally. Unless a friend said it, and that's where it becomes quite interesting in terms of engagement and retention. So let's look at some of the best practices for in-game markets. You know, these are all real figures, so you can tweet these, take pictures of them, use them. This is where we are today with the Windows Phone and Windows 8 stores. Most important thing on here is 75% of the content is downloaded from non-English markets. So as a game developer, do you localize your game? Dead easy for games. Create icons, don't use text. If you've got narrative in your game, you need to do something about it. Are you having it localized? Are you employing somebody specific to do that? Are you using Google? Are you using Babelfish? But you need to do it. Look at the figures. You know, these are real figures. What this also shows is that there's a real desire in the new up-and-coming countries. You know, countries where have never had smartphones, never had access to games in the pocket. You know, who launches to a trial market to start off with? Does anybody do launches in Canada, etc.? Why? Look at developing countries. Look at Mexico. Look at those countries who have a real desire and need to have new content. Again, you know, let's look at the revenue figures. These again are live revenue figures. So, you know, advertisement, and again, these are probably the same across all the other stores. I don't know if anybody else is as transparent. It'll be interesting to see. You know, Windows Phone, Windows Store, advertisement works. Definitely works. People like it. In-app purchases works. Paid, people still don't like it, even though we've already tried to buy. So what are you going to do to try and change that behaviour? Again, the other one is publish to all markets. You know, if you're going to do a launch, why not just launch to everyone? You know, we all know that piracy is so ripe across Android specifically. I was speaking to a developer yesterday in Birmingham, and their game got published on Android, and it got pirated within 30 seconds. Okay. And what's even more cheeky is they're now pirating them and including ads into your games. So they're pirating your game, changing the ads, so they get the revenue. And still putting it out there. So you know, again, think about this. You know, get the content out there and get it out there worldwide. Because if you don't, somebody else will. Again, if it's a great game, companies like China and India are just copying people now. You know, so you might as well just get it out there. So what we tried to do is help with this. So we now support 191 markets, 54 languages, and more importantly, we support this thing called price point indexing. And what the easiest way of explaining this is $1 in the US is worth $1. $1 in India is worth a lot more than $1 in the US. So what you can actually do is do separate pricing for your game or content across every single market. So again, what this actually does from a community perspective is make your app look more attractive to them. It's priced in their local currency at a local rate they can afford. Again, as I was saying earlier, think about, I'm not sure what's happened to the format of my slides, right? Think about, you know, these new developing countries. Developing countries are buying the lowest spec devices, so the 512 meg devices. Again, there's only 7% of credit card penetration in developing countries. So mobile biller operator really does work. And again, think about, you know, this try to buy. 83% of people who have a trial in their app actually transverts into a buy. So it's really important. Again, think about engagement and retention. So you've got the person, they're consuming your game, they're using your game. How do you make that viral? You know, what are you including into this? And this is again where Windows really helps. So you know, we've got cross promotion. So that 99.9% ad fill rate. Why don't you put, you know, every 100 ads an ad about your own other content, or ads about your other friends' content, or partners' content, or publishers' content? Because that's going to guarantee that you're going to get more platform exposure. Again, think about things like player recruitment. How do you give reward back to the end player? If they share their content with somebody else, do they get reward within game? Do they get extra credits, extra coins? Again, you know, with Windows, you've got live tiles. Now this, you know, people are like, oh, you know, start screen on Windows, oh, don't get it, oh. But if you think about it from a marketing perspective, If you get a live tile on somebody's screen and somebody sees it, and it's like giving live achievements or records, or you're currently beating whoever, that is a great advert for you. It's a great advert across all their friends, all their networks, because we all generally, show people other devices or phones. Again, ask for feedback. Has anybody played Temple Run 2 recently? Has anybody counted down the times it asks you for feedback? It does ask you after every single race. And it's got quite poor reviews in the store if you look at it. It's like between a 1 and 2 on the number of reviews because of the feedback. So, we do say ask for feedback, but be careful about asking feedback. Driving that home after every single game just really picks people off, to be honest. People don't like it. So we recommend between every 10 goes, ask somebody for feedback. Again, that comes back to what sells a game. Does the picture look good? What's the star rating? What's the feedback? What we've also included on Windows is the opportunity to respond, because you've all asked for it. Somebody gives you poor feedback. Why? Why is it poor? Gives you the ability to go back and say, I'm very sorry you think it's poor. What was the actual issue? More importantly as well, we also tag what the device was. So for example, that person was using that device of this model, of this manufacturer, and they had an issue. The next review might be a 5-star, different device. The 5th review might be the same device, and again, it's the same issue, or the same negative review. So from your point, from your perspective, you can go back to the dev dashboard and actually just look at it and see, was there a crash debug for those devices? Is there a specific issue? Again, when you respond, you can respond back, so I'm sorry, but that Nokia device did have an issue, it's now fixed, which then improves feedback. So here's an example, I don't know if you can see it in the room, but this is a review here. It literally says Tim was using Nokia Lumia 1020 and then the other person was using a different device. What we've also done is added a feature called personalised recommendations. So this is taking your friends and social contacts off the phone and looking at what content and games they like, because we know they're your friends, and then referring you to their, the things that they like. So it creates a personalised recommendation based off your networks, because generally if we're in a network we all like the same sort of things. So again, that's an extra added advantage for you as a developer, that you will get extra reach, you will create more engagement. And again, we've built this thing called the Universal app now, which is both Windows Phone and Windows 8, and you publish it to one store. And from a consumer perspective, you can see that that game is available on both devices. And for you as a developer, you can either make that free, so you buy it once, it's free on the other device, or have different tiered pricing options. So again, trying to create as much flexibility around that as possible. So Don touched on this with cloud. So who's building cloud backends to games? It's 2 people, 2. Okay. This is going to shock a lot of people, but that's my strategy of cloud. This is Microsoft's strategy of cloud. We're platform agnostic, okay? We want you to create the best game for that player experience. And I said earlier on, people want to transition between devices. People want to use a different device in a different situation. So if you're building a game, you're building a game for the player. So think about how that player can have game save, cross-leaderboard collaboration. So, it doesn't matter what device you're playing on, you're in a group of friends, a group of networks, you might all have different devices, but you can still compete. And this is really important, it's about building one back-end code base, which is easily manageable, easily maintained, and, and secure. So, these are the real things that we look for. And again, this gives you better leverage with publishers, with platform holders, if you can call out certain things in your game that make your game have a specific USP. Because as vendors, we're looking for USPs. We're looking at, what can we put on stage at E3, GDC, Gamescom, Rezzed, Play Expo, Insomnia, which will show our devices and our services. So enhancing gaming experiences. Does it go across platform? What's the differentiation? Is it a second screen experience to a console-based game? Or is it a mini-game based on a console-based game? How do you drive engagement? How are you getting players to be engaged in terms of rewarding or retention? How are you enhancing monetization? And there's going to be some real, I was speaking to Don earlier on about this, there's going to be some real changes in the console arena where free-to-play starts hitting console after Christmas. And that is a massive, massive change in culture. You know, free to play on a console model with in-app purchases, pretty scary stuff. But you know, 18 million potential users. Again, you know, how are you going to enable new business models? What are you going to do as a developer to create new business models? Everybody's seen the merchandising options. You know, Amazon have got some really nice things there now with the store where you can create merchandising and do direct sales. Again, you've got to think about this. Are you a game developer? Are you building a franchise of the future? Again, think about those data considerations. So these are the general questions we get asked from the developers and consumers, you know. So who uses things like Flurry at the moment? Please, everybody put the hand up. So is anybody capturing telemetry of the games? Anybody not capturing telemetry? Let's do it this way. Everybody's capturing telemetry, you're not, okay? Do it, it's free. Flurry.com, just get an account. You know, we all should be capturing data about who's playing the games, when they play them, how long they play them for, why did they stop playing them, who they are, what devices they have. The big issue we have today is about data science, is about how much of that data do we actually keep and store, and how much do we just discard and not really need about. Again, it's about, you know, what is relevant to making our games successful. And you've got to, you know, that might be on an individual basis. And then more importantly is, do you actually analyse it? Those people with Flurry accounts, do you actually look at it? Or do you just go, oh, well, the game's doing alright. Oh, it's crap. Or, you know. So look at your data. If you're collecting data, look at the data. And again, from a platform perspective, we're giving you dashboards with a lot more telemetry included in the dashboards. Again, from a player's perspective, I'll keep saying this, but you know, everybody has different devices. I've got every single device in our house. My kids have got more consoles than they know what to do with. And you know, we're probably all the same if we look at the number of devices we all have. But how are you making that game experience a gaming experience? We don't need to confine people. Again, you know, these are some of the tweets I took off some of the developers I've been working with, where people have literally been saying to them, I want that with that. Have you thought about it? And these are the consumers, you know, these aren't devs, these are consumers asking for this. So think about it when you're building your games. One sales pitch slide. You know, we're giving a 3-month pass with Azure, so it's free. All it really is, you know, if you want to try it, you can test it, you can play with it, you can use it. If you like it, you can buy it. And it's dirt cheap. One of the big questions we always get though is, it's great, you know, vendors giving away free access to cloud services, but I'm a developer, I've been working with C++, I'm not an enterprise architect, I have no idea where to start, you know, where do I start? So what we've done is we've built these cloud architecture pieces and models, and we've took games out there that you know, so we've gone from very basic turn-based games like Parabla, which is basically, you know, it's a turn-based game, it's your go, my go, authentication service, to things like Wordament, which is completely cross-platform, up to things like Zoo Tycoon's Friends, which is a big Microsoft Studios mobile-based game. And what we've done is we've built these architectural diagrams which say, you know, how many worker roles, how many web roles, how many databases, what authentication services are required. We've built videos and white papers as well to really help you as developers understand where to get started building on cloud services. Because it isn't, you know, it's not something we all know about, and it's something that's becoming more and more important. Again, in terms of developer tools, we've made so many improvements to Visual Studio. So who uses Visual Studio today? Who uses Visual Studio 2013 Update 3? One person. Okay. So it's free to update. You know? Update. Community Edition is now free as well. But so these are just like some of the specific gaming features we've enhanced. So we've created new editor, new compiler. So anybody used Windows Pix before? For doing like shader debugging. Anybody done any shader debugging with Pix? Used to be a complete and utter nightmare. Brand new, you know, graphics debugger built into Visual Studio now, so you can stay within one tool. Again, we've got Windows simulators, Android simulators. We might build an Apple simulator. Can't really comment on that. You know, lots of templates, lots of resources. Specific game improvements. All your shaders, image editors are now built into the tool. So again, if you're using Marmalade and C++, you can drop it out into Visual Studio, and you know, you're not having to worry about other tools. Again, you know, brilliant debuggers and profiles built in now. And again, you can associate Marmalade directly to Visual Studio to do debugging. So, you know, from a developer perspective, you're using the best tools out there. Anybody using source control? So you're using Git, you're using SVN. So we are SVN. So we've got, Visual Studio Online. So anybody heard of Team Foundation Server? So Team Foundation Server was a great tool. So source control before that, but it was bloody complicated. You had to build a server, you had to set it up, you had to configure it, you had to have Active Directory. Complete nightmare. What we've done now is release Visual Studio Online in the cloud, which is Visual Studio IDE plus source control plus project management, all in the cloud, and it's completely free for up to 5 users. So again, if you've got a small indie team, you've got source control, project management, document management, everything in one place. So, and it supports all IDEs. So if you're not using Visual Studio and using Xcode or Eclipse, you can go away and use it. We're also making a huge investment in terms of the indie space. So we've got BizSpark. Is anybody a Microsoft BizSpark subscriber? So BizSpark, for anybody who doesn't know, speak to the guys who put their hands up because I'm not going to sell it. But if you're under 5 years old, under $1 million of turnover, anybody any more than $1 million? somebody's nodding. Under $1 million, we give you all Microsoft software completely free for 3 years. And when I say all, I mean everything, including cloud, for 3 years. We also have a great community around BizSpark and around all those resources. We want developers to meet other developers, we want them to grow companies, we want them to recruit, we want to get them talking to local universities about intern placements, work experience, graduate recruitment. We have dedicated games accelerators now, which are based out of London. So we have a place in Whitechapel, a Microsoft Ventures Accelerator, where we take a minimum of 20% of the teams every 14 weeks are gaming teams. Those gaming teams are given a 4-week mentorship by Lift London Studios, Lionhead and Rare. As Microsoft, we don't take any ownership, we don't take any active investment, we don't take any IP. We are there to support and provide. The last 3 teams have gone through that have secured over £500,000 of private investment funds. They're all gone on to Xbox One, they'll all be launch titles before Christmas, and we're standing on stage at E3, GDC, etc. So, we're there to really give them a helping hand. And then we've got a massive network of seed and VCs where we will put you in front of them to pitch. So the pitching days were yesterday. So if you look at Twitter and just do #MSPitchUK, you'll see the amount of VCs and investors. We took over a cinema in London. Every single team went up on stage and had 20 minutes to pitch their solution to 200 investors and the internet, which is pretty amazing. It's all great news. So Don actually mentioned this early on, so I wasn't going to mention this. So I'm going to ask you a question now. How successful is the platform? Is it worth the punt? Because that's the next question you'll all be asking is, I built a game, I've got it on iOS, I've got it on Android, is it worth putting on Windows? So this is some of the figures. So anybody know Games Insight? Fairly big indie, but they've done 10 million installs. They won't tell me how many millions they've made, but they've made millions. They're really, really happy with the platform. They've got loads of content on the platform. And again, they've got content cross-platform. And I had a really interesting discussion with these. And, with middleware, it's one click. It's build settings, change the platform, build it to the platform, run it in the simulator, have a single device, test it.
About 3 minutes later.
Yeah. In terms of another one, Artifacts Monday, anybody know these guys? So these do like simulation-based games. That says 10 million downloads. My slides have got crushed. 10 million downloads on Windows. Okay, first month they did 250,000 downloads. So Joybits, Doodle God, 5 million downloads. They're getting thousands of daily downloads, and there's just 1 million downloads in the first month as well. So the consumer base is there. These are people who are succeeding. And Joybits have been really open with us and actually talked about revenue. So as you can see, this is their revenue figure. So they're comparing Google, Windows, and Amazon. And Windows is highest on every single one. Over every single quarter, which is interesting as well. So, over 3 years, the revenue on Windows, so 3 times higher revenues on Windows in comparison to any other product. So, again, developers are saying to us, and we're quite happy to say, we'll share this with the people if you want us to share it. Again, we've got dedicated blogs focused on, developer success stories, talking about how they're making revenue on the platform. And we've got a dedicated Marmalade website. So if you go with Marmalade/Windows, we've got a dedicated website there with loads of tutorials, porting guides, etc. to try and help you get started. And that's me done, so thank you.